everybody, and welcome to this afternoon's conversation, which has everything to do with influencers. It's called the Communism, the Blue Scare. In the old 1920s, wait, it wasn't the 20s, it was the 40s. Maybe it was the 50s. The Red Scare was called communism. And the ideas around communism, they point toward Republican in the form of the color red, not the actual party, just the color red. So you kind of distinguish, as an American, you think Republican means communism, but that has nothing to do with Republican. It's really interesting because that's a fog brain that's created by communism that is so, you're like in a room full of confusion. It's very hard to explain communism in what it is versus what people educate on. They want to teach you that it's a linear aspect of what communism is, but that's not really what happens. So communism was a huge accusation toward, I want to say, Elvis Presley. A lot of movie stars were accused of communism. And no one, even right now, I don't have a lot of education on what communism, like what they were actually charging them on. But Walt Disney actually spoke against communism. It's important we get aware of what communism occurs as, because it's never really ever clear what the Iron Curtain holds. What's behind the Iron Curtain? I always think about the Zonk game where you choose the curtain and you can take the $500 or you can open up the curtain. Behind the curtain, there's a beat up car that you don't even take home. That's communism. So it's all promises to your face and choices that you supposedly have, but it only benefits a group of individuals, but it doesn't even really benefit them either. So that's the crazy part about it. It's like the mentally ill become the leaders of a country, or the ones that are deep controllers of desire. That's the devil. It's basically the devil. So communism, I showed you some pictures of communism, and I did some montages on, I want to say it was on Twitter, of an axe in the head. And then I showed you some, really, the Democrats are going towards socialism and communism. And what we're seeing in this aspect of what that is at this time is the influencer sector. So they're trying to take socialism to become socialism. Social media, take it to socialism. That's what we're literally watching in front of our own fucking eyes. It's the craziest thing to me that you can't see that this circuit across the entire globe of them going to the White Party, them going to the Olympics, them all doing podcasts together is all socialism, which then becomes communism. Like, that's the path. Because they're trying to train you into a way of behaving so that they can occur as if they're helping you, but they're not helping you, they're actually hurting you. They're actually numbing you out to pain so that they can get you to buy on their products while they go live lavish, exotic lives, while they tell you a bunch of lies. Gary is not communist, however, he is born from communism. Meaning he was born in a country that was under communism. So he has a firsthand gratitude. That's why he's so grateful about being in America, because his father is born into communism. His mother grew up and was born into communism. Like, they didn't move out of Belarus until they were like 20 something years old, which means they had a long stint of living in what a communist country is like. However, even in today's world, it'll be a lot different than what they knew communism to be. So blue versus red. Blue wants you to think red is the communists. So when you think communism, you think complete and utter control. which is what communism is in a linear type of thinking, but it's more than just telling someone they have to wear a bracelet to control what they do and say. It fucks with your brain, and then it fucks with your emotions, and then you live in numbness and deep, dark anxiety and pain. You actually vibrate like a machine. So the trick with communism is the blue want you to think red is wanting control. But red wants ethics and morals. They want law and order. They want liberty, freedom, the pursuit of happiness. But they want law and order. And they don't really pay it. The statistics are that black people are more likely to be in jail, while blue blame the red for that. But it's actually the blue's fault, because most people who are Democrat are blue. They're the ones who are raising these children to think that it's okay to live in gang-related cities. So even the people living in the ghetto of Harlem, and I'm only using that as an example. I don't know where the ghetto, I guess an LA ghetto or whatever, Compton. It's complicated because if everybody there would just act like a small town, middle class, black or white neighborhood, the gangs would go away. If their behaviors changed. But the Democrats don't want that. Because if that happens, then they'll all turn red. What does that mean? It means you'll have more money. And then the politicians will have less money. And they won't be able to rob you and steal from you. And you'll be happier if you're a Republican. Look at how happy Tim Scott is. Look at how happy and professional Byron Donalds is. Take a look at Governor Mark. Take a look at Denzel Washington. He's a Republican. It's very, very unsafe to say that you're a Republican, even though the Democrats say that democracy is at risk. Now, let's move back into communism and let you know that there was a huge media storm around communism of pointing fingers in all forms of direction, which is communism. And then within communism, there are a bunch of people you're pointing your fingers at, and they all have a story to tell. And then we'll leave it in LA and tell you that each person has a version of the story, and they're all acting skills of whose story is more believable. And then an audience who is watching it as if it's a movie. Even though you're like literally sitting there looking at them as they are literally acting like a buffoon. The old skill that Mona Van used to have was that you would look at her and you would say, wow, she's really a buffoon. And then she would try to train you through communism to tell you that she's not a buffoon and look how amazing her life is. That's communism. And even right now, as I tell you that's communism, she's going to tell me that that entity of communism is going to tell me that that's not communism. Yes, it is. That's called conviction. She also has the Middle Eastern culture to evolve this Democrat Party to create a new form of communism with the help of social media. So instead of it being a far right issue of communism, which is lies, by the way, that Project 2025 is either two things. It's either a strategy to distract, or it's a Democrat document of an old document of communism that the Democrats wrote. So there's how many pages? How many pages are in that document? Who the fuck would be able to write that thing so quickly? I don't think Donald Trump has time. He's been busy doing shit. So they want you to believe that that shit's happening, but that's not Republican, because Republicans don't speak to that project. That is Democrat propaganda in the form of what you're watching in the... They may have actually gotten it off of my content, but I don't think so, actually. They do a lot of this communist acts of like trying to act as if my content is that content. It's not. My content's my content. My content is my content. If you know my content is not that content. But what I just showed you was actually an act of communism. What communism right now is becoming is what you're seeing on the internet. They're showing you new ways to raise children. It's called the swamp. They're showing you abuse to babies. They're showing you money making. Show me the money. Yay! That's communism. Trending is communism. Everything Mona Van shows you on her platform is the new communism. Friendly conversation. This is communism. You have to be successful. Life is so good. Live happy. La 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 la. Everything's so great. Clean eat. When I make sauces, words, tone of voice, podcasting sectors, it's all an orchestrated machine to create communism that they call democracy, which by calling that shit democracy is communism. So they're telling you that democracy's at risk, but that's not the only thing at risk of democracy. Is actual democracy, which is Republicans are democracy and the Democrats of the deep swamp are not democracy. If you control the media and the way that the media is demonstrating information, the way they're doing it, meaning showing you how they interview JD Vance versus how they interview Kamala Harris, you want to know that the media is involved in communism. It's swaying the vote. It's called voter fraud. They attract your mind to emotions, to feed off your emotions, like the cat lady conversation. Are you fucking kidding me? That was a form of communism, of the response to. Not what he said, because it's true what he said. And that's not a malicious conversation. It's just a fact. That when you have cats, that cats are conniving. There's a historical study done on cats. And then women with cats generally have an attitude of a cat because you are who you surround yourself with. So communism was the act of all of you trying to make it a mountain out of a molehill. And if you're a politician who's talking about that shit, then you're not a real professional. You're full of communism. And then what the response to that communism is that's not true. Yes, it is, which is communism. So it's a training experience of you not knowing who you are, and then you become a controlled being of psychosis, which is communism. The result of that is a Holocaust or a Third Reich or whatever that shit is like a form of communism. So reminding you that these people are pretending to be nice, pretending to be passionate. It's all pretend. They're living in some fake ass movie where they will not stop with the sex. It's like bullshit. These are young children named Harrison, who needs to get his ass put in prison, but because of communism and because he works with Obama, he's being given favoritism, which is also communism. It's also a Third Reich. He's a terrorist, and if he's terrorizing someone, then he's a communist. He's a commie. And so it's important to know that if we've got one communist, it's equivalent to like 1,000 soldiers. Because that's how abusive a communist can be. I didn't say that that's how they were. I just said that's how they can be. Because they think that that gives them power when I said that they're more powerful than 1,000 men. That's not what I said. That's communism. I said it could be. But that's also in the persons that they're interacting with. It could be a 17-year-old, a bunch of 17-year-olds who are mush-mesh drug addicts that he's talking to. Could be a bunch of cat women he's talking to. So they try to create their own reality of horrific behavior so that they can play games with people's minds and lives, and it's all malicious acts. So he's actually operating against the law. A form of communism is in the form of the Zoom call. That's communism. Never in the history of our elections have we ever seen such communism. It's unbelievable that people would be willing. I would literally wait for the Gestapo to show up at my door before I would do that shit. However, the threat is if they don't do it, they'll do something to the public, which is communism. The other thing is so here we are with our graph here. Everything's a blue blaming the red, but the red's innocent and the blue's guilty of all of it. And then when the blue does the same thing, they don't get in trouble for it, but the red gets in trouble for it. Example would be riots on the streets versus January 6th. That's communism. Communism is you telling the riots in Minnesota you get out for free, and then you putting in January 6th. We saw this at the Republican National Convention, that we have citizens in prison for January 6th when businesses were destroyed and they got these people, Kamala Harris paid for these people to get out of prison. Communism. Moving over in a big circle. So if I could draw a circle, the way they want you to see friendliness and kindness and happiness and joy and all those things that are, if spoken incorrectly, are communism. Be happy that I'm abusing you. Be gracious that I'm standing in front of your presence. Be gracious that I'm signing your autograph. Be gratitude in that I am looking so beautiful. Now get the hell away from me. I'm just kidding. I'm really nice. I'm sweet. Now get the hell away from me. Smile. Why would you not have compassion for me? Communism. Feel sorry for me. I'm failing. I'm abusive as fuck. I'm failing. I believe in you. Communism. It's a game. It's a game of the devil. It's an enhanced game of the devil. Everybody who's going to church is actually worshiping the devil. They ping off each other. And they're completely erratic and confused. So far left actually circles around with vicious behavior. They're exhausting. They're exhausted. They abuse audiences, yet they're being praised. They don't offer education. They say eat clean. They run in circles of same style educators where they think that's the new norm called autism. And then they all work toward this new form of communism. which is all fake smiles and happiness, but they're trying to make you think you're happy, which still gets me confused if you are thinking you're happy or not. But what you are is you're completely suppressed in your emotions. You're completely suppressed in your experience of existing. You're completely suppressed in the realization that you barely can put food on your table, but you still smile and say, everything's great. I like cats. And then the other thing the blue does is their words on, we're going to help the economy. Well, you're actually in leadership right now, and you're the reason, with the help of the social media influencers, you're the reason why we are struggling financially. So why the hell would all these people be showing up? Propaganda would be them doctoring images. You've seen me doctor images before, where you obviously know that my images, I tell you that my images are not, you know they're not real because I'm always sitting at the house. But I can actually create it's not delusion because there's no ill intent behind it. It's for creative. That means if you asked me in real time, tell me how you made this photo, I would say, well, I added this and I added this and I added this and I added this. And this is a picture. This is how funny this is. Gary was at this conference and I took this picture and I took this picture and then I added the pictures together. And actually there was 2 people down here and I erased them from the picture. And then I made a picture. And it actually seems like I was at the event because I think that everyone was talking about me and I was at my house making content and education because it wasn't safe for me to be there because someone was going to try to kill me. Someone that actually might have stormed out of the auditorium at the end of the event. So I couldn't go physically to the conference, but I liked in my mind to think that I was there because I was so enthralled with communicating and taking photos, like making photos and creative. So that's not communism because I'm in integrity with how I'm existing. However, all these people are doing is doing really bad things, convincing people otherwise, and then delivering on only small groups of the 1% to win. And all these people are completely vicious. Which actually, this is kind of how they feel inside. So they're always trying to get out of this feeling, but it all comes from being communists. So communism escalates into holocausts, disguised by dictatorships. I would even say that it's not really a form of government, but a state of mind that becomes a government. So I would actually argue that Hitler was communist and that he was also a dictator, and women were just as bad then as they are today, if not worse. And now we have them on mass volume. So you can watch, you actually will ask yourself, how was Hitler so convincing? And so they called him charismatic. But it's very clear as you're stepping from the outside, looking over there to him, that he wasn't charismatic. He was completely fucking crazy. That's a form of communism. For those people, they were inside of a version of communism and they were living in fear. So communism while living in fear of the fear of death. Whereas in today's society, where we're at is we're in a state of fear associated to Motivans content. That's the same feeling. So when you look at Kamala Harris, you will be in communism because you're like going, you should be if you're from another country. How the fuck does anyone think that that's an intelligent woman? How the fuck does anyone look at walls? How the fuck does anyone look at the wall and say, how is he successful in politics? He's a communist. It's common sense to look at that shit and know that they really aren't up to shit. Because all those people, it's like All these different things are all combined. They're in a cult. They're communists. They're completely unethical. They don't operate on any form of education. They don't work on an interest graph. They work with Hollywood. They're convincing. They're using seduction and sex. They're provocative. The provocative is not a good word in politics. They're Hollywood. Hollywood does not need to be involved in politics. See, Hollywood gets fearful that they are going to go back into communism and stop their creative, which is a nude scene where someone's tits are hanging out. There's no reason in Oppenheimer that girl needed to be naked sitting in that chair. No, that's for the director and the actors in the movie to feel something instead of just sitting naked with each other and then putting clothes on her or a blanket to cover herself and then still feel that energy that's experienced by seeing someone naked. So they have no respect for an audience, which means they're selfish and they're working in communism, which is also part of communism, is selfishness. So unraveling communism is quite it's only for the intelligent. No, it's not. That's communism. It could be the dumbest of the dumb. And I say that loosely because dumbest of the dumb is all in this form is perspective. But let's say they call dumb people would be no college degree. That's communism. The fact that I keep saying the word communism is a form of communism. It's annoying as shit. Common sense, ethics and morals, knowing what freedom actually is, experiencing freedom, knowing what liberty means, knowing what justice is. It's not definitions though, it's actual feelings of those things. So let's sit with that. Republican. Justice for all. Liberty. And freedom. But I have some rules that I need to take a look at these rules. I've got no boobies, no breastfeeding, no sex, and no kissing. Ugh. No, I don't even know what else to say. No chefs or cleaning ladies. Works for me. Does it work for you? Democracy. Republican. Closed borders. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to close our borders short term so that we can get well again. It's temporary because we are all mentally ill. And it should be more important for you to know that your president's reasonable. And that it's mandatory because it has to go this way because we cannot live like this. And Joe Biden fucked us all up. And then we're going to have to take a week off the internet. We can still have TV. And no news. So you kind of get into like, well, only Fox News. No news. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe you could still do YouTube. You could still probably live off of, I don't know. I just think CNN and NBC and all those other shitheads are really awful. I don't see how you like them, but you might actually uncover that you don't like them if we went 1 week without internet. It'd be like no social media, I should say. I should say that. No social media. We'd open back up Chrome. We just have a short period of regulation. and it would just be a short regulation. Sorry, your business has to slow down. Everybody's business is going to slow down. It actually would bring more innovation to your businesses. And these are just ideas I'm throwing out. That's all. I'm not even saying that it's going to happen, but it's definitely either that or we're going to all perish while Mona Van wears a pink and white outfit while she shows her fingers off. Because the honest truth is these people are always in panic and they cannot sustain large quantities of people viewing them because everyone's always judging. And then they retaliate to those people. And then those people retaliate to everyone they live with or around. And then those people retaliate at work. It's because Mona Van is not secure in who she is and has nothing to educate on. This is a huge concern. And all they want to do is whitewash you, which is what they're trying to do right now. Because they want to feel at peace, but they're the cause of all of our troubles. While they go get a hair massage and a hairdo and a makeup, and then show money in our faces after they've become relaxed again. This is how mentally ill they all are. They will not stop because all they want is the worship of a Shah. And what happened with the Shah? He starved his people and everyone hated him, and they overthrew his ass out of the country. And they still call them princess and prince. Even though the Shah doesn't exist. That doesn't belong here in America, just to let you know. And I'm gonna let you know that I've worked with the Shah for a long time and I fucking hate them. And Nixon hated them too, except he's a diplomat and he had abilities with people that I don't have. I am not working with someone like her. Sorry. People don't understand that you should be hired and fired from the internet based on your personality and your skills as a public speaker. Her shit is garbage. Yet the Democrats are controlling that we must watch that shit. Why? Because they're communists. They're forcing Gary to do this. He's being forced. So is this a free country? Is this a free country if Gary is being forced to do this shit? He was forced to work with Maha. He was forced to work with that Iranian Sid. He was forced to do a lot of things with Obama in office. And this all stems back from the Muslim and the Middle Eastern named Obama that you love so much, black people. He is not a good man. He is not a good person. He was not a good president. He was literally selling your asses to the fucking devil. It's in a movie called White House Down. Warnings after warnings after warnings after warnings. 9/11, don't you forget that. We will not bow down to a fucking Persian and her bitch ass family. Do you fucking hear me, Mona Van? I ain't afraid of your bitch ass. You're a fucking weak ass is what you fucking are. People sat in that audience and they can already tell that you are a nobody. They're already overpowering you. They are stronger than you because they are American. And that's what you want to understand is that any American is stronger than a Persian. Stronger than any Middle Eastern, because I pledge of allegiance to the flag for the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I bet you she doesn't even know the Pledge of Allegiance, which means she ain't fucking American. She's a fucking traitor bitch. She deserves to fucking be executed, and I want her out my fucking face. And that's what I have on the conversation of communism. And that last part wasn't communism. You were clear-minded. That's the difference between a communist and a real educator who's up to something. And there are people out here in this country that deserve to be executed, like the Armenians. Reminding you that Armenian's not American. And if you hold lineage, like I'm Italian, and if you hold lineage to another country over American, and you practice saying I'm this and I'm this and I'm this, then you're not American. And that's all I have on that subject for now. I can sure produce content, can't I?